Hello, and welcome to the hallowed halls of Rip Daddy's house. I'm your loyal butler, Dave Makes Noises, at your service. All right, kiddos, get pumped up because today we're asking D&D players, what's the best instance of overkill you have either done or witnessed? Part 2. Preface. I personally consider this story to be on the lower end of overkill moments. The fact that I was the only one contributing to my damage output may make it seem quite high at first, but was really limiting how big a gap there could have been between it and the enemy's max health. The lack of a gap in levels didn't help my case either. I'll let you be the judge, though. Also, no exact numbers were given in terms of the enemy's stats. We had a larger than normal party size for this particular campaign, and the DM wasn't used to it, later telling me he felt forced to work in rough estimates to keep everything straight in his head. One time, the DM was hosting a free-form campaign. Players could be of any race from any game they chose. I personally went with an enforcer from Borderlands the pre-sequel. Not Wilhelm himself, but an augment prototype tester. Borderlands is a power trip of a series of games, you better believe it is, so I figured I might get to live that in another medium, and didn't want to pass up the opportunity. The DM was nice to us, letting us all use 2 actions per turn, which I used to my advantage for the overkill moment. In the middle of the campaign, I had split off from the group and encountered the Hobo, a guy who could offer you anything you wished, with specificity requiring higher rolls on a d20. I just asked for anything decent, as I had been rolling extremely poorly for the last couple sessions, and at the level my character was at, I couldn't afford too many more crappy rolls, lest I got massacred by enemy forces. Thankfully, I ended up getting a nat 20. Which gave me access to a lot of good loot, all of which was able to scale with my level. Here's the list, and if anybody cares for the Borderlands nomenclature, I do. Those will be in the parentheses. A pistol with incendiary rounds that never needed to be reloaded. Infinity pistol with fire damage. Hell yeah, can't go wrong with a Vladoff. A modifier that gave my grenades homing properties as well as the ability to heal the party upon damaging an enemy, and leave a residue that increased further dealt elemental damage. Homing slag transfusion grenade mod. A shield that increased damage output if it was fully charged. The B shield, a relic that increased my damage with pistols, pistol aggression relic. During the final battle, I was again separated from the group and was going up against an ultimate badass warbot. Basically a battle-ready model enemy robot with quadruple the usual health and damage output, totaling around 200 in the campaign. My character could hear the commotion coming from the other room and knew the rest of the party was in trouble. I asked the DM if one of my grenades could heal the party, even with me being separated. He said sure, but it would have to be a high roll. I ended up getting a 17, and the grenade restores the party to pretty much full health. With the robot slagged, I used my second action to fire at it. Rolled a 19, and as you can imagine, the combination of items I got from the Hobo made my damage output ridiculous enough to have the DM as well as the rest of the party sit there stunned for 2 or 3 minutes at just how quickly things went from 0 to 100. The DM, who also plays Borderlands, later remarked, "I'm impressed one shot was all it took. In-game, those guys are a pain in the neck to deal with. That nat 20 saved you a lot of hassle." Hindsight being 2020, he was completely right. If given the chance, the robot could have easily done the same to me. However, that was only one shot I had fired. I could have held down the trigger, if that didn't kill, for literally forever, without running out of ammo, and I could have stayed alive forever. Well, just recently, we had a ship explode in our harbor. We totally weren't the ones who did it. A little backstory may be necessary. Best isn't the way I would describe it, really, but the DM really made us realize what happened and the consequences of our actions. So, first off, we have the human fighter, a wood elf thief mage. Let's call her Trouble, because that's all she brings. A wood elf fighter thief, enabler, a human paladin, a dwarf who is a former assassin and now a fighter, a halfling thief, and a human cleric. That is a lot of thieves. That makes sense. Thieves are good at everything. The most important ones are the wood elves. We own an island and are trying to make a good harbor for it so we can draw in ships and make a good reputation for ourselves to try to right some wrongs. Suddenly, a ship from not France shows up. It has a marquis and marquise on board and 4 musketeers. Long story short, the marquise runs away from her husband for not listening to her while on our very dangerous island. Turns out there is an evil cardinal after land the marquis's family owns. The cardinal can get it if he finds the marquis guilty of heresy. So, fast forward a session, the marquis and marquise have reconciled. Fairy tale ending, right? Not exactly. There's a ship coming towards the island. Is it the cardinal's men here to kidnap the marquise to force her husband to confess to heresy? Nope. It's a ship from the not Dutch. Trouble boards the ship and greets them. She hears a click. She now has a musket pointed at her. It is the Cardinal's men, just flying someone else's colors. She's shot, but survives. She flies up, she has boots of flying, and yells. Guess what? We were so paranoid that we had a group of 16 wood elf mages that were sent to help guard us on order of their king, who really wants this harbor to work as it is in the perfect place for supply runs. All 16, who are very high level, start casting Fireball. Guess what happens? 24 friggin' members of the Cardinal's elite guard jump off ship and shoot the mages. Half the shots miss, and the rest do minimal damage. The mages get off their fireballs. Our DM just sat for a moment and then just said, all 24 were dead. Hooray. Bad news, that ship is now on fire and listing heavily towards our docks. Worse news, the ship was heavily armed. Do you know what that means? Lots and lots of gunpowder. So, the Paladin and I are fighting for our lives against not just the surviving men. There were more than 24. These weren't hit by the fireball storm, but the clock. We need to get away from this ship now. Enabler uses a wand of lightning bolt to blow a hole in the other side of the ship. Good news, that makes the ship stop listing and sink straight down. Bad news is that it doesn't sink fast enough. Cue huge Michael Bay explosion. So now's the cleanup. We fish out what few survivors there are and learn some things we didn't know. 1. This ship is from the not Dutch. The Cardinal's men just jacked the ship, killed the captain, and held the rest of the crew hostage, 54 in total. 6 sailors survived our attack. 2. They were expecting someone important to come aboard so they could hold them hostage. Technically, they succeeded with the first part, they just weren't expecting her to fly away. 3. The not Dutch are slavers, and they had been running a shipment. 206 innocent people were trapped below deck when the fireballs hit. TLDR, we were attacked by religious zealots, and in the process of fighting them, we burned down our dock, killed 48 arguably innocent sailors, and killed 206 innocent slaves. I have one from my last session, actually. Several of my players worked together for this one. I'm the DM, and we had a party consisting of a drow monk, a winter Eladrin druid, a fire genasi arcane archer, a human hobo wizard, and a tiefling bard. And is that hobo wizard or hobo wizard? Because context is everything. So either it's a wizard that conjures hobos, or it's a wizard that is himself or themself a hobo. But I like to think that it's a wizard that conjures hobos. Because that's funnier to me. I don't know. That weird? I love Dungeons and Dragons. The Eladrin druid tamed a crow and named it Crow the previous session. It had gotten the killing blow on a red cap they'd been fighting and killed a murder suspect the party was trying to bring in with a critical hit. This last session, a criminal attacked the human hobo wizard, claiming that he'd cheated him at cards and wanted his mug back. The wizard had won a magical mug that makes you drunk, no matter what liquid you pour into it, from the criminal during one of his blackout adventures. He missed the previous session. Well, the party very easily fought off this criminal, who quickly realized he was outmatched and fled. However, the crow kept attacking him as he fled, and after a brief rooftop battle, the criminal killed the crow. So, being the loving crow owner she was, the Eladrin druid went out of the way to get a priest to bring the crow back to life. This is where the party decided to make the bizarre decision to make sure it stayed dead. The party chased down the druid and convinced the head priestess to not bring the crow back, with the Genasi arcane archer offering 100 gold pieces to not bring the crow back to life. The druid then begged another priest and convinced him to bring back her crow. When he did, the arcane archer fired a seeking arrow and instantly killed the crow, because 1 HP crow versus auto hit. The priestess then brought the crow back to life again. The Genasi fires another seeking arrow, running out of seeking arrows at this point, killing the crow again. The priest, incredibly confused at this point, resurrects the crow a 3rd time, and the crow starts flying away, as the crow should. However, he's still just within range of a certain spell the bard has. Shatter, another spell that automatically does damage. The crow exploded and became literal roadkill. So the party may not have done a ton of damage to the crow in absolute terms, but killing the same bird that never attacked them or did anything to hurt them 3 times in a row and wasting 100 gold pieces to make sure it stayed dead seems like overkill to me. Never have I seen so much determination to kill a crow. The best instance of overkill we had yet was when our monk, bard, and barbarian were fighting a bunch of crawlers. 2 crawlers were left with low hit points. Our barbarian was about to attack. Nat 20 on the attack roll, and since our DM overworked the rules for critical hits, he dealt 35 damage. Both crawlers had around 5 hit points left. So our DM said that Babar swings his axe like a madman, so powerful that he hit both crawlers, although he was just aiming at one. Both of them are cut in half, gushing out a lot of blood that covered the snow around him, then their upper half fell down to the ground. I was with my normal group, and we had met a giant snake that we befriended. I was a ranger, so I could talk to it, and it wanted some food, so our barbarian agrees to find something. While he went hunting, the rest of us did our own things. He went into the forest nearby and found a giant hyena. He got the higher initiative and used a homebrew item called the Hello. He rolled his damage, and the DM just started laughing and said that he glares at the giant hyena and it just drops dead. Turns out the DM used the same stats for a normal hyena, which has 5 hit points. Yeah, he did at least 15 times the hyena's health. The barbarian also killed a baboon I had befriended. It exploded when he hit it, which pissed me and my character off since I was a ranger and I love baboons. He's been crowned as Don Collar the Nature Hater. My party's fighter hit an elemental so hard that it opened a portal to the plane of Earth. So, for background, the party of 6 were ambushed in a city built on a giant tree by 2 wyverns, a couple of gargoyles, and a pack of mud mephits. Things were going pretty standard. The wizard was hiding on the outskirts. The barbarian and sorcerer were wrestling with 1 wyvern. The rogue was getting blown the fuck out for once. The bard was leading an army of rats against his foes. Amid the melee, the fighter was having trouble with one of the mephits. It managed to dodge 5 of his attacks and sneak 2 nasty punches through his stupid high AC. So he'd had enough. He used action surge and spent all attacks on the mephit. 1 was a crit. They all hit. So that was 5d10 halberd plus crit plus 4d6 cold enchant plus 1d6 polar master plus 40 great weapon master plus 20 5 times 4 strength plus 1d8 bardic inspiration plus 1d8 trip attack. I don't remember the exact damage number, but I ruled that he did so much damage that he tore open reality, and the mud mephit was launched through a portal into a boxing ring somewhere on the plane of Earth, much to the confusion of the Sorn referee. Howdy, adventurer, and thank you for attuning the cosmic shimmering dendrites of your focus to the full length of this video. If you've got a moment of bloodthirsty overkill to share with the community, please feel free to share it in the comments section below. And if you've got another story you'd like to share with us, please do so on our official subreddit, r/MrRipper, where we gather most of the stories that we share on this channel. If you're a DM or a player hoping to find a group, pop on over to MrRipper's Group Finder Discord server. Thanks to everybody who has followed us on Twitch during the giveaway. We're excited to see you all on a stream soon. And another big thank you to our sweet friends over at Easy Roller Dice Company for making it all possible. I hope this week that you get up and stretch every couple hours if school or work is a sedentary kind of situation for you like it can be for me. Please sub for Nat 20s, bing that bong so you can be part of the early squad. We love you and we're so glad you joined us today. Thanks again for watching and we'll see you next time.